Thank you, G. Thank you so much. You are very welcome. What's the biggest things we need to do for I-130 case or not? So the main thing with an I-130 case is you have to show the relationship, whether it's a parent relationship, it's it's a parent relationship, it's a marital relationship. You must make sure that you are showing the relationship, right? If it's an adopted parent child relationship, you need to be very careful with that and show exactly how that came about. Hi there. Hi, baby love. Thank you. Is it a good idea to upload evidence to USCIS account? Do you think it makes your case go faster? While I cannot tell you in particular what to do because I'm not the attorney on your case, what I would say is the online account to upload documents is very useful because one, if you're running on a deadline, that could be a quick and easy way to upload it so that they get it very quickly. So say, for example, you get a request for evidence, you got it late in the mail, it's today, and it's due tomorrow, then you can quickly upload the documents there and you would have still met the deadline for a request for evidence. So that's the upside of that portal. So it just depends. It's been 24 months since applied, EAD and I-130 approved 8 months ago, I-45 still pending. Is that normal? I would say yes. And of course, now that we have a lot going on, I would say that's not shocking. You may get an interview. So I am getting some green cards without the interview, but you may get an interview because that's what they're doing for marriage-based. File marriage-based green card September 23rd, receive EAD and AP, spouse in US, processing time for I-130 and I-45. So I would say 10 to 12 months. Now we're just observing to see what the processing times are going to be. Over time, we may see get longer. Can I travel with only travel documents? I don't have green card yet, granted asylum. Be very careful about travel. If you have your travel document, that's definitely what the travel document is there for, but you should be very careful because the risk is a lot higher that you're going to be scrutinized at the airport. And if they find something that they do not like, it's really hard to fight that at the airport. So be very careful with any kind of travel that you'll be doing. I have been waiting a green card interview for over a year. Is it a cause for concern? So I wouldn't say the length of time you wait for an interview is a concern. Is there something in your case that is concerning you? If so, you definitely need to get legal advice. You can always give us a call. Can a chat or talk to your attorney if you already have an attorney? Can a child 26 living overseas still qualify for citizenship from a U.S. parent? So if the child automatically received citizenship, it may be a possibility, but we'd have to look at the circumstances, the parent's circumstances to see did they actually derive citizenship or get citizenship upon birth, or at what point did they become a citizen or get U.S. citizenship. So there are rules that allow for that, but we have to see if your circumstances let you fall under that. So definitely give us a call. How do you know which field office has your case? So you can always check with USCIS to see which field office, and most likely it's going to be the field office closest to you. Hi there, it's nice to see you. I'm so glad you got your green card. I have an interview soon, but I live with my spouse, mom, and my spouse is that a problem? No, it is not a problem, but you do need to get the evidence to show that you live with your spouse. What matters is not that you live with a spouse's mom with your spouse. Sometimes that can be normal. I know growing up in Jamaica, that was a normal thing. Grandparents, your parents, even aunts and uncles living in the same house. I know For a while, that was how it was for me. Growing up with my grandparents, my aunts and uncles, my parents, all of us living in the same house. So it's not normal. Actually, I would say that does indicate the authenticity of the relationship, but you have to show it on paper. Sometimes just telling them is not going to fly. So and here's an example, have your in-law write a letter or an affidavit stating that you're all living together, that she lives with you, she has observed the marriage, and how the both of you are moving along as a married couple. That is going to be helpful. So that is not going to be a problem, but get it on paper. Going into the marriage-based interview, please make sure if you have updated evidence, bring that evidence with you. Make sure you have all your documents lined up at that interview. And most of all, if you didn't attach that evidence showing that you live together, you need to do it going into that interview. Is it okay to put your marriage-based paper now, knowing that Trump putting the pause on everything? No, this is a misconception. Do not stop going forward with your process. There's not a pause on everything. That is wrong information. Right now, Trump has announced, or Trump's administration has announced, that they are putting a pause on green card applications for asylees and refugees. So asylees and refugees are people who come to the United States for protection. And they go through already a very tedious screening process before they get to the United States. While they're in the United States, some of them have to wait 10 years to get their asylum. At 1 year after getting refugee status or being in the US and becoming an asylee, they can apply for their green card. Well, this administration has said they're putting a pause on those to investigate, go backwards, look over applications to see if there's any fraud. And so that is where they're pausing, but everything else is moving along. So do not move your process along. Apply, please apply. The time is now, because we know the rules and laws are here now. It's best to apply when you know what is going on with the laws now. That can change in the future. As we can see, a lot is changing. We're trying to keep up with a lot of information. So you need to make sure you get on it now. So, for example, the public charge rule, that's something I suspect is going to be coming back at some point in the next 4 years. The public charge rule is going to be previously this, and how do I know this? I practiced during the first Trump administration. I have been through it. I know that during Trump 1.0, they had changed the public charge rule. The public charge rule went from all you have to do is show that your sponsor, your petitioner, made sufficient income to support you for the next 10 years or until you became a citizen. And that was all that was needed. Well, under Trump 1.0, they changed it to a much more tedious process, where now they're looking at the immigrant credit score, age, employment history, educational history, health, household size, marital history. They're looking at all of those, and then they're going to based on the totality of the circumstances, this officer, now it's up to an officer to say, based on this balancing analysis, is this person more likely than not to go on public assistance, right? So you can see where you can't tell how an officer is going to decide, because now they're looking at so many different factors. You have to make a strong argument, of course, but no, you don't know if they're going to come from left field with a denial of the affidavit of support. And guess what? When the affidavit of support is denied, you're not getting that green card. You're not getting that immigrant visa to come and become a green card holder. So what happened the last time? Everybody who applied before a certain date, before that public charge rule went into effect, were not affected by that public charge rule. that is not going to happen. That can happen again. It can happen again. And if it happens, you want to be applying before any changes like that occur. That can be really, it can have a big impact on many people. Got approved at interview for AOS. However, I-130 got approved. I-485 still pending. Is this usual? So at the interview, if they still haven't approved the I-485, I don't know how long. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks. Sometimes it takes 4 weeks. It depends. But, it just depends. And I would really have to see the facts to say, okay, we should be worried. Is it okay to put in your marriage-based paper? No, knowing that. Okay, so I answered that. I petition and he's approved. Case at NBC is interview. So if you're waiting for an interview overseas, just expect about a year to 2 years wait time. I know that's hard to hear, but this is the reality of the situation. Did VAWA March 2024? How after? So if you got it in March, if you applied March 2024 and you applied for your work permit, that should be coming soon. It usually takes a year, so 9 months to a year. And then after that, you should get a work permit. And if you apply for the travel document, then at about the 2.5 year mark, you get your approval, and then after that they process you for the green card. And so it just depends on, you said VAWA, but I'm not sure if you applied for VAWA alone or the adjustment of status. Can one be qualified for VAWA if they never lived with a spouse due to deployed overseas? Great question. Absolutely. Yes, you can. This is one of the exceptions. If you were married to a U.S. citizen or a resident who served in the military abroad, and not even served they were in the military, and you do not have to show the residency requirement. Absolutely, that is one of the exceptions. So if you're married to a military member or a U.S. federal employee who mistreated you, you can qualify for your own green card. You're very welcome, Lady Pratt. Thanks so much for the gifts. I appreciate it. The child was 17 when the parent became a citizen. He's now 26, never been in the US. If he's never been in the US, he never had, he did not have his papers, it's unlikely that he just became a US citizen. So keep that in mind. But still evaluate your options, because based on this, you gave me a one-liner, right? Child was 17 when parent became a citizen. He's now 26, never been in the US. This just only hints to the unlikelihood that they became a citizen automatically, because they would have had to have at least permanent residency. But I need to understand facts. So definitely call, do an initial evaluation, and then we can try to understand your facts. I have an interview soon, but I live with my spouse, mom, and my spouse. Is that a problem? No, absolutely not, for reasons I explained earlier. I've been here for months. I still don't have my green card. I want 30. Can you please say something? I'm not sure. So now, getting the green card in a matter of months, extremely rare, and it really depends on how you qualify for it. So definitely give the office a call. Let's talk about your qualifications. How are you doing? I've been here for months. I've been with my green card. Awesome. That's great. Congratulations. How do you know which field office? So I answered that. Can a child 26? So I answered that. Got my green card 5 years, not together with my wife, but not divorced. Can I do N400? Yes, you can. Make sure you, if always consult an attorney. The reason I say that is because they are going to be looking at your background, possibly even looking back at your marriage, how you got your green card. You want to make sure that all your T's are crossed, your I's are dotted. I've been waiting for a green card interview for over a year. Is that concern for a cause for concern? Not necessarily. Before they weren't doing interviews. Now they are, so you might get it soon, but I wouldn't say that's necessarily a concern right now. Can I travel with my travel document? I don't have a green card yet. Granted asylum. It depends. Get legal advice. File marriage-based green card September 23rd. Received EAD, AP, and AP is a travel document. Spouse in U.S. processing time for I-130 and I-485. I would say 10 to 12 months. Could go back to about a year and a half. I can prove the marriage is real, but just still so scared. Oh, absolutely. I understand how nerve-wracking this can be. But take comfort in knowing that you and your spouse are working towards your future. You have nothing to worry about. You have a real marriage going in, and that will give you the confidence to tackle the questions. And you know what? I would say this. Most of it, when a marriage is real and you have difficulty answering question, you know, as a result of being nervous, you may have difficulty answering questions. But remind yourself that you have the opportunity to talk about your marriage, to talk about the good things in your marriage, who you've known, who do you know, the both of you in common, how you've grown as a married couple. I mean, you're gonna show these things by answering these questions to the officer. Prepare with your spouse, and you should be fine. Okay, make sure you prepare. Go to the link in the profile, and you will see that I have a link in the link tree that leads to a document with sample questions. This is not legal advice and I'm not your attorney, but that is for general information. You can go over those questions, those commonly asked questions, and you and your spouse can just, go over them, make sure the both of you are on the same page going into that interview. It's been 24 months to apply EAD. Okay, so I answered that. Is it a good idea to upload evidence to USCIS account? Do you think it makes your case go faster? So I answered that. All right, so now I am going to go to Instagram and then I'll go to YouTube and Facebook. So hang tight, everybody. Thanks so much on TikTok. What is going on inside detention? Are they letting out people nowadays? So it depends. Right now, bond is going to be the first way to be able to get people out. So it's a process. And yes, some people are being released on bond, but it really is on a case by case basis. And this is where representation is essential. Where we've been able to respond to our clients in situations like this is where we already had a relationship, and so we were able to respond. We are being able to respond more quickly to our clients. Any clients that have had any detentions, we're able to respond very quickly. Do you need a lot of evidence to file for VAWA? It depends. It depends on what you have. And this is where it's very important to get in touch with us. I would say now is not the time to DIY your VAWA. This is a complex case type, and it's very much dependent on your statement as well as any other evidence that you have. Do you need a lot of evidence? I would say it's not really a matter of a lot of evidence. It's what evidence do you have? Even your statement can be evidence. If you remember what happened to you, put it on paper. That can be accepted as evidence, but it has to be sufficiently detailed. Hello, is a $5 million green card available to buy or not? No, it's not available. So there are some problems with this. they cannot come up with a $5 million green card. That's a whole other way to get a green card. They have to go through Congress to now make that a way to get a green card. There are very specific ways one can get a green card, and it is stated in statute authorized by Congress. And so you can't just create a new way to get a green card. So that's what the problem is with this $5 million green card. If you're married to a U.S. citizen, can you get that green card? Yes. Now, there are some exceptions. If you came across the border without permission, then you're going to face challenges getting it through your U.S. citizen spouse through adjustment of status. However, here's the exception. If you got married to a U.S. citizen after coming into the country, no matter how you came into the country, and that U.S. citizen spouse mistreated you, then you can qualify for VAWA. And with VAWA, they do allow you to get the green card because they focus not on your entry, but on what happened to you. I heard that we can't get green card by marrying a U.S. citizen. No. If you heard that, here's the deal. Your marriage must be real. It's not that you can't marry a U.S. citizen, but you can't marry a U.S. citizen with the sole agreement that you're marrying them to get the green card, right? So I think maybe it's more in that context that you're hearing you can't marry a U.S. citizen for the green card. It must be a real marriage for that to work, right? So I hear some people talk about business marriages. There's no such thing, guys, as a business marriage. It's marriage fraud. It's illegal. It will definitely get you into trouble. It will get you permanently barred from getting the green card. So steer away from the marriage, getting married to someone just for the green card. It's not legal. And they are very, very strict about it. And I'm pretty sure they're going to be spending a lot more time evaluating people for marriage fraud and then bringing immigration charges, which are very serious. It's deportable. What I would say is there are other ways to get your papers. And this is where it's important. Here at SD Law Office, we ask the right questions. We ask the questions to be able to determine what other options are there other than marriage, right? The option of marriage is just not available to you. Then we look at other options for you. So this is where the initial evaluation is going to be very important. So this is where you can call the office. We answer the phone 24/7. We'll be able to talk to you and figure out if there are other options we can help you with. So you can marry a citizen for your green card, but you have to have a real marriage, meaning you have to be living together. You're doing it out of getting married to this U.S. citizen for the purpose of future plans, building a life together. Are there any backlogs for SIG green card? Yes, that has always been there. So there are backlogs, and they have implemented deferred action to be able to help those who can't get it right away. My company is filing EB-2 for me. They are taking forever on the case. Should I hire a lawyer myself? I have 15 months left on my current work permit. Yes, so I would always say it's in your best interest to hire your own lawyer, so your own lawyer can advise you, check in on the process, work with the company's lawyer. But it depends also on the arrangement you have with the company. Was there a conflict of interest form signed that enables this lawyer to also represent you? So it all depends. But I would say if you are not independently represented by an attorney, it's important for you to make sure you are, so that they can facilitate a faster process for you and make sure things are moving along. I have an interview soon, but I live with my spouse's mom and my spouse. Is that a problem? So I answered this. No, it's not a problem. Actually, it can strengthen your case. But you need to get this on paper, right? It's a problem. Here's where it is a problem. If you are living with your spouse and your spouse's mom, there's of course no lease, because I'm assuming if you're living with your spouse's mom, you didn't sign a lease. Maybe she's allowing you to stay at the house, the both of you to stay at the house to save. But if you did not get any evidence to show that you're living together under your mom-in-law's roof, then it's going to be a problem going into the interview, because just merely saying it to the officer, they may still meet this with suspicion. So this is where it's important to, for example, have your mom-in-law sign complete an affidavit stating how long you've lived there, how long you've been married, how long you've lived there, what has she observed in the marriage, in order to attest to the fact that it's a real marriage and you do live together. If you don't get it on paper, I would say that's a problem. So get it on paper. Get your mom-in-law to go ahead and fill out an affidavit. Does there have to be obvious physical abuse to file for VAWA? Absolutely not. We have gotten VAWA. In more cases than not, we have gotten VAWA for our clients where there was no physical abuse at all. There was not even any police involved. There was no jail involved. It was more verbal and emotional abuse. So it absolutely can qualify you even if you don't have physical abuse in the relationship or marriage. Hi there, Aiden. All right. Okay, so let's see here hi there, YouTube and Facebook. It's nice to see you. U.S. citizen parent, sponsor, adult, unmarried, children, prior to date 2020, waiting approval for I-130. How long again for approval? So approvals for it just depends. It gets longer for the U.S. citizen. The U.S. citizen, the adult child of a U.S. citizen. I would say total, you're looking at, let me see, unmarried, so a 5 to 7 year process. What is the validity of BFD EAD for T visa? Does T visa cap met in any year? Never been met. So the cap has never been met. And the cap is $5,000 a year. What is the processing time of BFD EAD for T visa? So yes, it's absolutely valid. If they're releasing a work permit to you, it's valid, right? The government wouldn't be issuing you an EAD if it wasn't valid. The cap has never been met, but they have stated, and that when we say the cap has never been met, it means they issue 5,000 T visas a year, and they have never met the cap. However, the BFD is an indication that this is a possibility to happen. BFD is where they issue a hold on any kind of removal proceedings, give you temporary protection until they can decide your case. That can also help you with benefits. And yes, if you are getting the T visa, they will not hold getting any benefits or support against you. So that's one. The BFD is taking 70 to 90 days, and afterwards they process the EAD. So I'm assuming it's going to be anywhere from 3 months to 6 months, but we have yet to see a pattern. I know the average is 6 months, but we have yet to see a pattern because we haven't seen widespread issuance of the EADs. If a citizen adult child is filing for a parent, can the parent add an 18-year child on the same petition? So this is one of the heartbreaking gaps in immigration where I have to break the news, and sometimes it gets people in trouble because the parent is being sponsored by their citizen adult child. The parent, though, has a minor child, so that child is 14, who is the citizen sibling. Everybody assumes that there's no way this parent is going to be allowed to be sponsored by the citizen, and that child is going to be left behind, their child, the parent's child. No way. Well, yes way. That child does not have a right to be on the same petition. They will not be included on that petition. So what usually has to happen is the parent has to become a green card holder, and then they have to sponsor the child, right? The 14-year-old child. So in this case, the 18-year-old child. If the citizen adult child sponsors them as a sibling, it takes at minimum 14 years. So that will not work. Where it can be heartbreaking is some parents assume that if they carry their child with them, that is going to work out. They're going to be able to get the child their papers too, and everybody's going to be okay. And then they find out the hard truth. But the child has already overstayed their visa. And at that point, now the child is out of status and everybody else has their papers. And that can be really upsetting for a parent. So this is where I always say, before making decisions like this, just make sure that everybody is going to be in compliance of the law. Asking for a friend. Naturalization application got denied last year. Serious misdemeanor causing bodily harm. Can she reapply this year? Definitely have your friend get legal advice. I would say that if it was denied based on a serious misdemeanor, it was probably based on the fact that they did not find good moral character. The good moral character, usually when they deny it on that basis, they have to wait for another 5 years, right? On 5 years until the conviction. So 5 years from the date of the conviction. So if the officer looks back 5 years, to look for good moral character in the last 5 years, they won't see that misdemeanor. They will see the misdemeanor. They'll certainly be aware of it, but they may not hold it against you. Now, here's the other problem, though. Sounds like, yes, this was a misdemeanor, but causing serious bodily harm or causing bodily harm, it may mean that this is a deportable offense, right? So that means that if it's a deportable offense, they could be referred to court. They could even be in danger of being detained and having their green card stripped. We're seeing this pattern now. So this is where she before she does anything, applies for citizenship, she needs to get legal advice. Cannot stress enough. We specifically have to do a lot more research and before we can even advise clients on criminal issues, because every case is different. We have to look at the state laws. We have to look at how that relates to the immigration laws and whether it can result in a consequence. Then we have to advise. So it is complex. Do not underestimate your case. Don't say, oh, I just got a misdemeanor. Right now, they're deporting people for driving without a license. It's happening right now. Police are taking people off the streets. If they find them without their status, they're taking them and putting them in ICE detention. If they're driving without a license, any minor offenses, they're now locking them up. And yes, there's a question of due process, whether this is permissible. It really isn't, because you can only really become inadmissible once you've been convicted, but they're not waiting. So this is where I say, don't take a small charge or what you take to be a minor charge as a minor thing in immigration. It can actually be very major, especially during these times. I have a 10-year green card. Do I register in the registration rule? No, no. Green card holders do not register for this. Good evening. How long is the process to file for my husband in Jamaica with my green card? So I would say you're looking at about 2 to 2.5 years if they're outside of the United States. Of course, it's all dependent on the priority date for spouses of green card holders. I would say though it is moving along to be about 2 to 2.5 years. Get started now. I can't stress how urgent it is to start now when you're the spouse of a green card holder, because starting now means you are higher up on the wait list. What is the processing time for EAD based on pending VAWA case filed with adjustment of status? And are they still giving EADs with 5 years? So yes, so far we are still seeing 5-year validity date. Good night to you. My question is on the I-485 form where it talks about organization. Does that have anything to do with church? Because on the form, it asks for a specific organization. It can be religious organization. So yes, if you belong to a church, you should put that. No, I'm not your attorney. I'm not giving you specific legal advice. But generally, a church is going to also be a religious organization. Asking for, so I asked that. I answered that. Is it okay to send evidence after adjustment of status was filed? It's okay if you know where your case is. So this is where a lot of information can get lost. So it just depends, and it depends on where it is. And sometimes it's best to wait for a request for evidence. But if you know where your case is, you can always send that information in. I filed for children unmarried in May 2024. How long would to unmarried children, so I'm assuming they're over 21 or over, and it's taking 5 to 7 years. Is it okay to, so I answered that. My ex-wife, green card holder, and I get green card from VAWA, so apply citizen for 3 year or 5 years. So my ex-wife, green card holder, and I get green card from VAWA. So 5 years, yeah. How long does it take to apply for your husband in Jamaica with a green card? So I would say 2.5 years. Hello there, I think from Colombia. Hi there, it's nice to see you. Can I apply for VAWA after 2 decades of abuse? Absolutely. There is no time limit. Where there is a time limit though is if you're divorced, you have up to 2 years to file it. So time is passing. Make sure you apply. The other is if they got deported, you can still apply, but within 2 years of them being deported, and then the last, if they pass away. But 2 years, you have up to 2 years after their death to apply. So that's where you have to watch out for time limits. But this is where I say, don't wait. We offer a safe space through confidentiality to talk about your facts and be able to determine whether you qualify. So why wait? We offer free initial evaluations that allow you to be able to understand whether we can help you. Because I always get this question, can you help me? I just want to know, can you help me? Well, the calling us and doing that evaluation can let us tell you on the spot if we can help you or if we cannot, so that you don't waste your time, you don't waste your money. So start there and don't waste any time because you never know what you qualify for. And the thing about it is you don't know if there's a deadline on what you qualify for. So the time is now. I can't tell you how heartbreaking it is for me to talk to someone in an appointment and they tell me they were mistreated by their spouse. Okay, check. Spouse was a US citizen. Okay, check. Live together with their spouse. Okay, check. We're divorced. Okay, what was the date of your divorce? More than 2 years ago. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry to tell you. You can't qualify. If you came to us earlier, we would be able to help you to apply for a green card in a confidential process, still with your spouse in the rear view mirror, where you don't have to involve them. It's confidential. They would have qualified for work permit and everything, protection, but because they missed the deadline and didn't apply within the, or even seek help within 2 years of the divorce, they don't qualify. And that really is non-negotiable. It's just a given. If you don't fall within the 2 years of from the divorce, from the death, from the deportation of your relative or your spouse who mistreated you, you will not get the VAWA. Of course, this does not apply to the T visa, so there's no limit on the T visa, which T visa is based on if you were forced to do anything by an employer, by a relative, by an intimate partner, and in the process you were abused to force you to do things. There's no time limit on that one. But with VAWA, they have pretty strict time limits on those. So definitely give us a call. 2 decades of abuse. We definitely want to hear from you and help you to move forward, to get freedom, to be able to be free of that and to heal. I had a client, a dear client, who I see this with many of my clients. So not just this client, but this client comes to mind every single time. And she just got her 10-year green card, so this is also why it's very fresh in my memory. But this client was going through years of abuse, along with her children. And when I saw her the first time, she was very, you could tell, depressed, anxious. She looked so tired in her face, in her appearance, but full of hope. After I just explained to her that this solution is here. And over the time, as we got her relief, she and her children gained independence because they now had the work permit. They were traveling, they were enjoying life, they could afford things, the simple things that they couldn't afford with that spouse. They could hardly even eat food. They did not even have food to eat. And she was able to heal from that. Every time I saw her, oh my gosh, she started to glow. She started telling me about the achievements of herself, but also her children. She dyed her hair. Her fashion always looked great. She looked like a completely different person. So it's not just about getting the green card, getting the work permit. It's what it does for my clients, the reassurance, the healing it facilitates for my clients, the fact that it allows them to breathe, it allows them to escape a very oppressive, uncertain situation. So this is what is important to me in my mission. All right. How long will it take to receive EAC after EAD after fingerprints in asylum? So 180 days from the date that you applied for asylum, as long as you applied for the EAD on time. All right. Does the J2 dependents have to register in the US based on 8C? So yeah, if they are turning 14 and they were not fingerprinted, then yes, they're going to have to register. If once they turn 14, within 30 days of them turning 14. How do you prove when one is overseas? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you're referring to. I'll be traveling next week. Just got my green card. Had a little hiccup on the pass, but not major. So this is where it's very important to just get legal advice. If you have any concerns, as a green card holder, you have the right to travel. I don't want to take that away from green card holders. You work too hard to get that status. However, what I would say is if you have anything in your background that's a red flag, you need to pause, because you could be, by traveling, you could be causing, I don't want to say you could be causing, but the traveling could cause a lot of trouble to come down on you. That may not be worth it, just depending on, the reason for the travel. You really have to make that decision yourself. But if in your background you have a criminal history, no matter if it's old, no matter if it was dismissed, it's time to take pause and get legal advice about the risk of traveling. Also, if you're an advocate, you need an activist, right? And you know that you're advocating for controversial topics, or topics that right now this administration does not like, then you need to be wary of the risk that you're facing, and you need to get legal advice. If you're going from a 2-year green card to a 10-year green card and you're applying for a waiver, or you're divorced from the spouse, you're separated, or your green card, say you did not apply on time for your 10-year green card, you need to be concerned. So those are some examples of red flags that I have been seeing. Hi there, Mary. All right. Do you think I should try and get visa for my kids now? It depends. I wouldn't be able to tell you. It really depends on your circumstances. What are the possible things to do if somebody threatens you against your status? So definitely get in touch with us, because there may be options. It depends though on why they threatened you. We would want to know why they threatened you. That is very relevant. If it's a US citizen or permanent resident relative who did this, then you may qualify for a confidential process to apply for your own papers, just depending on who the relative is. If this person is threatening you to get you to do something for them, so tell you to, if they're even threatening you to, they say, go to the corner store and buy me some liquor. And you say, no, I'm not going to do that. And say, oh, yeah, I'm going to get you deported if you don't do this. Believe it or not, that is a red flag, a big red flag for trafficking, because they're trying to use coercion, right? They're trying to threaten your status to get you to do something for them that they're going to benefit for, that you are not willing to do. If you weren't threatened in that way, you would not have done that action. That is trafficking. So, and yes, trafficking can be 5 minutes and trafficking can be 20 years, right? So it doesn't matter how long it happened, but if it happened in a situation like that, and sometimes it's not even as direct as that. It could be, I'll throw you out on the streets if you don't do this. Or it could be implied threats, right? If you don't do something, some bad consequences are going to happen, and that stops you from standing up or escaping the situation. That's trafficking. And it states it very clearly in the policy manual. So it's time to give us a call. Let's talk about your situation and then help you. Is there any delay on the T visas? So T visas, I noticed that they are taking a longer time for processing. So instead of 12 months, I'm seeing more on the 18-month timeline. Got approved at interview for AOS. However, I-130 got approved. I-485 still pending, as usual. It depends on how long they're taking. Is it okay to put in your marriage-based paper? No. To put in your marriage-based paper? No, knowing that Trump is putting pause on everything. He's not putting a pause on everything. So put your papers in. If you're qualified, put those papers in. Absolutely. All right, that's gonna be it from me. Thanks everybody for your time. Let me see here how to ask you questions. Go ahead if you want to ask it in a personal context. Go ahead and give the office a call. The number is going across the screen, and we can go ahead and do an initial evaluation and set up an appointment for you. I'm married a U.S. citizen, but I'm in the U.S. with a J1 visa. We live in different states. Since I can't quit my job without having the green card, are the evidence the same as if we live together? Be very careful. Living apart can be a problem if you do not tackle it properly. You absolutely need to approach this head on. Do I need to register again after I thumbprint in PIP Biden parole before? Yes, so it doesn't count. The PIP doesn't count, but I would have to understand your facts. We are helping to advise clients, to help people to understand, do you need to register? What are the risk factors involved? And then, of course, it really ultimately is your decision, but you do have to understand your rights. You have to understand what the potential consequences are, whether you even have to, for example, if you came with a visa, you don't have to register. Even if you overstay that visa, they already see you as registered. So it's going to depend. And I think you need to definitely consult an attorney. And we're helping people, helping to advise people right now on that. Is it normal waiting for fingerprint 6 months already for I-485 spouse citizen? I would say 2 to 3 months. 6 months is kind of long for fingerprinting appointment. I married a U.S. citizen. Okay, so I answered that. Go ahead and put your questions in the comments. Please, can you answer my question? It is very important. So Coda. Let's see. Like they steal any money. Okay. Hello, please, can my niece for Medicaid or food stamps so she does not have to pay for N600 fees? Is it a problem during Trump administration? Also, I have a brother who is handicapped and he came here with tourist visa. He does not want to go back because people in our country harass him every day due to his disability. Like they steal any money they get earned. Sometimes some bad people attack to take phone and more because he cannot run and walk. I'm so sorry. Asylum could be an option. Absolutely. No, definitely give us a call. Let's start with an initial evaluation and then we can start working on strategy. Now, for the N400, taking public benefits, it just depends, right? It depends. Now, first of all, here's a misconception that everybody needs to know about, and I think it's really helpful for people to understand this, to educate other people. It's very hard. It's extremely hard for immigrants to get public benefits. They cannot. They usually cannot qualify for Medicaid or food stamps to begin with, right? So immigrants are not stealing public benefits or taxpayer dollars because the screening process doesn't allow them to do that. Now, certain immigrants who do qualify for Medicaid and food stamps are the most vulnerable. They're victims of trafficking, victims of abuse, those who are here on refugee status and asylee status. And the country, United States, has agreed to help them, right? Especially when they're coming in on refugee status. That's why there's this exception. No, so your niece would have to go through the process of seeing if she qualifies for Medicaid or food stamps. She may not, based on her ability to prove her status. She may have to get her proof of citizenship because the N600 is the certificate for citizenship. She may have to get that first in order to show she qualifies for Medicaid or food stamps. So I would say, yeah, be very careful about the taking on public benefits until she understands whether she is a U.S. citizen or what her immigration status is. And do not, one thing I would advise is she definitely get legal advice about whether she is a citizen before claiming citizenship. Um, My son came up on a CR2 visa last year, paid for green card on arrival. However, my wife and I's pathways, I believe she have received his green card. However, she doesn't hand it over. It's 36 months for a replacement. Yes, so the processing time is long. And unfortunately, if the person is not giving the green card, you'd have to get you would definitely have to get a replacement. Good night. On the I-485 where it talks about organization, so I talked about that. Do we have interviews for T visa approval? Is USCIS considering expedited requests for processing T visas? So yes, they do consider make decisions on expedited requests for T visas as long as there's evidence, and it's discretionary on a case by case basis. Usually, there are no T visas. There are no interviews before a T visa approval. However, they do reserve the right to interview. I need to do some business in Jamaica. Is it okay for me to travel now? Now, what I would say here is definitely seek legal advice on a case by case basis. Talk to your attorney, because I don't know what your status is. What documents do you have? Are you a citizen? Are you a green card holder? Those would be needed to be able to advise you on the risk of travel. Ultimately, it is your decision, but you need to get individualized legal advice. I applied for EB2 NIW and got receipt notice on February 5th. So can I expedite it? So the receipt notice wouldn't allow you to expedite it, and I believe you could have applied for premium processing. That can help to expedite the process. But to expedite it, you would have to make a special request based on emergency, based on USCIS mistake, based on say economic loss of a business. So it just depends. One more question, please. So let me see if I see it. I don't. Does unpaid medical bills from 13 years ago affect marriage-based cases? Not right now. Unpaid medical bills, though, in the future, if they change it back to the old public charge rule, will probably affect the marriage-based case. But right now, no. This is where I'm saying definitely get on it and apply now when you know that they're not going to be looking at medical bills. File VAWA, I-485 in abeyance, amend marriage certificate after. Should I upload or wait for an RFE? So, this is where I cannot advise you specifically because I'm not your attorney and I don't know what's going on in your case. Usually the I-360 for one is not on the USCIS account. So if you're talking about an I-130 RFE, but you switched to a VAWA, then you have to be very careful here. Because you're no longer the I-130 process. So this is where you need to get an attorney on board so that they can understand your case. How long does it take for removal of conditions? I-751. It takes about 4 years. But we did have a client that was just approved in a year and a half. So it can move faster, but on average, I'm seeing 3 to 4 years. Where I'm seeing them taking very long are people will come to me after maybe a few years of them trying to do it themselves. So that one of the cases we got approved, that was the case. They applied first, then we took the case on, and then it went through. So I would say even if it's going to take 3 to 4 years, make sure that you're doing it right, because you don't want to get a nasty surprise after the 3 to 4 years. So you want to make sure you do it right the first time. We definitely can assist with that. Any update for VAWA? No updates on VAWA right now. Can we travel 1 month out US with conditional green card? Green card holders can travel, and 1 month is an allowable period of time to travel as long as you're not outside of the country for more than 6 months. But please make sure that you are aware of the risk, that there are increased risks across the board. And while you do have the right to travel as a conditional green card holder, just be informed about your rights, about your risk before leaving. Just so you can know, is it really worth the risk? Is your risk low? Is your risk higher based on your background? If my partner previously filed for her previous marriage, should I still continue the filing process? Definitely, you'd have to talk to us. We have represented clients who sponsored spouses before, got divorced, and then remarried. So that does happen. It's just a fact of life. But I don't know what happened in these circumstances, and that might raise a red flag for immigration. So we definitely want to know more to be able to advise about the filing process and what to expect. Hello on Instagram. Since I'm taking some extra questions, hi there. Put your questions. I'm going to answer the questions I see now and then head out. I-45 still pending. Can I travel to San Francisco? Traveling in the country, I think, is much safer than traveling out of the country. What comes after receiving 4 prima facie? So it comes every six. So the first year, and then after that, every 6 months. So an approval would be the next step. Usually 2.5 to 3 years, an approval or a decision. Please update on birthright citizenship. The U.S. Supreme Court has now taken the case up, and they said they're going to hear it on May 15th. So, historically, the Supreme Court has sided with, has always said being born in the United States gives you that right that you are a citizen. So we'll have to see, I just would find it really hard to believe the court would find otherwise. I mean, it would be outrageous, I think, at this point. Every single court, district court, appeals court, now it's at the Supreme Court, have found that this executive order is unconstitutional. So, we'll have to see. But I am thinking the Supreme Court is going to say it's unconstitutional. It's not allowed. What is the next step? And the Constitution has to be amended, and that's really a steep hill to climb. What is the next step after EAD and SSN in an asylum case? Then is to wait, continue to renew your work permit and SSN. If you got 5 years, then you don't have to renew for another 5 years. May take years to get the interview, though. I don't want my bro to miss the 2-year deadline. I'm glad you heard about that 2-year deadline, so get in touch ASAP. Do you have a Brooklyn office? And I'd like to work with you. So we represent clients in all 50 states and the globe. Our attorneys work closer with me, and our clients have to work with the attorneys because we are still a small team. So we're a team of 40, but the attorneys, I need help. I'm not doing this on my own, right? We need support. Every good attorney is going to have support to make sure they can help as many people as possible and do it right. So you're going to have to work with a team as well. Any update on birth citizen Trump banned it? So no, it's not. It's not banned, and it is now before the Supreme Court. So children who are born here continue to be U.S. citizens. My I-485 got denied because we didn't get married with 90 days, but we eventually got married after 180 days. Is there any hope of getting a green card again after appealing? And how long does 290B take? So I'm so sorry. It sounds like you did the fiance visa. And if you didn't get married within the 90 days, and you're still married to the citizen, so we'd have to evaluate whether just refiling would be an option, because usually they do not, as long as you are married to the same citizen that you came in with a fiance visa, then you may have to refile an adjustment of status application. I-290, that's the appeal, can take anywhere from a year and a half to 2 years to process. But that may be a path for you as well. You're very welcome, Coda. Can you visa bona fide protect against deportation for someone on a final removal order? Yes, so it can. But a part of the process is also taking care of that final removal order by going back to the court and asking them to reopen and terminate. What about DV lottery winners with 10-year green card that will expire 2026? Are they safe to travel this summer? So I would say it's really on a case by case basis. There are going to be some risk factors involved that make some people subject to scrutiny coming back and increase risk. So that's where we have to look at your background, listen to your facts to determine what your risks are. What happens once you have received EAD? So I answered that. Can you be undocumented and married to a citizen and get a green card? Yes, 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 yes. Absolutely. You can be here, you've overstayed. Now, if you came across the border without permission, that will be a problem for getting your green card while staying in the US, unless that spouse mistreated you and you go through the confidential process of VAWA. But ordinarily, with a US citizen sponsor, you're not going to be able to apply while staying here in the US. All right. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Have a good night and look out for me tomorrow. What I usually say, because I'm here a little earlier than usual, usually I'm on here late at night. I managed to be here a little earlier. So what I say is make sure you like, subscribe, share this live, share the video, subscribe on Getting the Green Card. Getting the Green Card channel has all the lives. So that's where you can go to watch the recorded lives. If you miss a live, you can always check there to see what you missed on Getting the Green Card on YouTube. When we share, subscribe, like, it means other people who need this information and who have questions themselves can access this information. And it also means that you'll be notified when I come on. So if you're free, you can also come on and ask questions as well. So go ahead and do that. And always feel free to call us at this number going across the screen, and go to the link in the profile on TikTok and Instagram, because that's where you're going to get the true value. You're going to get an evaluation, and we're going to be able to personally let you know whether we can help you and move forward with a solid plan, because ultimately we have to walk it with faith, but we also have to take action, right? So take that away tonight. Walk with faith, but take action. Do not let fear stop you from taking action. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Bye bye.